Welcome to English with Zenko Master. Get ready to learn something new today.
My name is Sophia. I'm 16 years old. I was born in the UK, but now I live on a quiet island far from everything I knew. This place is nothing like London. There are no cars, no tall buildings, and no crowds of people. Just thick forests, small stone houses, and a sea that never sleeps. I never wanted to live here. But sometimes, life doesn't ask you what you want. The last time I saw my mother, she was lying in bed with her eyes closed. Her skin looked pale, and her hands felt cold when I held them. I was 13 then. My little brother Leo was only 8. She called us to her side and whispered things I still hear in my dreams. "Be brave," she told us. "Take care of each other. And if you're ever hungry, truly hungry, go to the deep forest. There is something there that will help you." I didn't understand her words then, but I do now. When she died, everything changed. My father remarried 2 months later. Her name was Marla. She had 2 daughters of her own, and from the moment she moved into our house, I knew we were not welcome anymore. She acted sweet when father was near, but when he left for work on the fishing boats, her smile vanished. Her daughters followed her lead. They looked at Leo like he was a stray dog. They laughed at my clothes and whispered when I walked past. But the worst part was the hunger. At first, we were allowed to eat small portions, tiny bowls of soup or dry bread. But one day, Marla stood by the stove, holding a pot, and looked straight at us. "I have my own children to feed," she said. "You're not my problem." That was the last time she gave us anything. I begged her. I even cried once. But she only said, "Go ask the ghosts in the forest if they have food." That night, Leo sat beside me with his arms around his stomach. "Sophie," he said, "I can't sleep. My belly hurts." His voice was so small, like a bird in the cold. I held his hand and remembered our mother's words. "Let's go," I whispered. "We'll find the forest she told us about." We walked before the sun came up, past the edge of the village, past the river where the fish no longer swam, past the old stones that marked the start of the forest. The trees were tall and silent. The air felt heavy, as if we had stepped into another world. We walked for hours, our feet tired and our bellies empty. Just as Leo began to cry, I saw a flicker of light between the trees. We followed it. At the center of the forest, there stood a strange tree. Its bark was silver, and its leaves glowed with a soft blue light. Beneath it, there was a bowl. I don't know why, but I stepped forward and whispered, "We're hungry." The wind moved, and suddenly the bowl filled with warm food. Fruits I had never seen, bread that smelled like honey, and water that tasted like spring. Leo and I ate until we could eat no more. That tree became our secret. Every morning, we walked to it before the sun rose and whispered our hunger. Every day, it gave us what we needed. We never took more than we could carry. We never stayed too long. And we never told anyone. But secrets do not stay safe forever. Marla began to watch us. She noticed we weren't growing thin like her daughters. She saw that we had energy, smiles, and strength. One morning, as we tried to leave the house early, she stopped us. "Where do you two go each day?" she asked with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Nowhere," I said. "Just walking." "Walking?" she repeated. "Interesting. My daughters don't walk, and they're always tired. But you two, who eat nothing, have the strength of horses." She leaned closer. "If you find food in the forest, you better tell me." We didn't answer her, but I knew the danger had begun. The next morning, her older daughter Lyra followed us. We tried to stop her. "It's just boring walking," I told her. "You'll hate it." But she insisted. She said she wanted to stretch her legs. I knew she didn't believe us. When we reached the silver tree, I tried to send Leo away. But he was hungry, and his face looked pale. "Please," he said. "I can't wait another day." So I whispered to the tree. It gave us food, and we ate. Lyra watched from behind a tree. That evening, Marla was waiting at the door. "So," she said, "you've been fed by a cursed tree. How charming." The next day, she dragged Father into the forest. "Bring that tree here," she shouted. "I'm carrying your child, and I need magic food. Do you want your baby to starve?" "There is no tree," Father said, confused. "Just stories." She slapped his arm. "Then find what feeds them. I want it. Now." I don't know how she did it, but that afternoon, men came with axes and ropes. They tore the silver tree from the ground. Its roots cried like whispers in the wind. Marla stood there and smiled. Now we'll see who the forest loves more. She tried to cut the tree with a knife, but the blade broke. She tried to burn it, but the flames refused to catch. "If this tree won't feed me," she screamed, "I will feed on your children instead." That night, Leo and I hid in the forest. We didn't look back. We ran until the stars faded. Then we got separated. I turned for 1 second, and he was gone. I searched for hours, calling his name, but the forest stayed silent. I cried until I could cry no more. 3 years passed. I stayed near the sea, living in a hut made from driftwood and leaves. I caught fish, found fruit, and survived. But I never saw Leo again. The forest had swallowed him. I dreamed of him often, of his smile, his small voice, of the tree, of our mother. Then, one day, I saw him. Or I thought I did. He stood across the village square, near the fire pit. Taller now, stronger. He wore a traveler's coat, and his eyes were sharp like our father's. But before I could call out, he vanished into the crowd. Before I share the rest of my story, could you please tell me where you're from? It gives me strength to know there's someone out there who listens to me, who understands me. It means a lot to me. I tried to follow the stranger through the square, but the crowd was thick and my feet were slow. My heart beat too fast to think clearly. I pushed through people, looking in every direction. I shouted his name once, Leo! But no one turned. Maybe it wasn't him. Maybe I only saw what I wanted to see. Or maybe he saw me first and decided not to speak. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat outside my hut, watching the stars. The wind moved gently through the palm trees, and the sound of waves filled the silence. I thought about the tree and wondered if its spirit had moved to another place. I still dreamed of its silver bark and glowing leaves. I still whispered thanks when I found food or stayed warm at night. It had given us life once. Maybe it still protected us in ways I couldn't see. 2 days later, I went to the market to trade seashells for rice. The market was loud and full of colors, women selling fruit, men shouting about fish, children running with sticky fingers. I kept my head down, as I always did, and moved quickly. But someone touched my shoulder. "Sophia?" I turned slowly. My breath caught in my throat. He looked older, taller, and thinner than I remembered. His face had changed, but his eyes had not. They were the same soft brown as our mother's. For a moment, we both stood still. "Leo," I said. He smiled and opened his arms. I didn't care who was watching. I hugged him and felt like I could breathe again. We sat by the edge of the water, talking for hours. He told me he had been taken in by an old fisherman who lived deep in the southern cove. "He had no children," Leo said. "He gave me food and taught me how to fish. I wanted to come find you, but I didn't know where to start." "I looked for you," I said, "for weeks. I thought the forest had eaten you." "I thought the same about you," he replied. We laughed softly. It was strange to laugh again. Strange to feel whole. That evening we cooked rice and shared stories in my hut. I watched him while he ate, noticing the way he moved, how careful he was with each spoonful. He was no longer a child, and neither was I. "I came back for a reason," he said after a while. "I've heard things about Marla." "What kind of things?" I asked. "She still rules father like a shadow. People say she controls him with charms, spells. And since the silver tree vanished, the island has changed. Food is harder to find. Storms come without warning. Some people think it's because of her." I looked into the fire. "She broke the forest's heart," I said. "It was never meant to be taken." Leo nodded. "There's more. She's trying to marry her eldest daughter into the chief's family. She wants power, and she'll do anything to get it." "But the chief would never allow that," I said. "He's wise. His daughter is strong and smart. She sees through lies." Leo looked at me quietly. "That's why I came back. I've met her." I raised my eyebrows. "You've met the chief's daughter?" He nodded. "Her name is Anari. I helped her escape a storm near the cliffs. We've met in secret ever since. I think I'm falling in love with her." There was silence. I didn't know whether to smile or cry. "She's not like Marla's daughters," Leo added. She's kind. She listens. And she knows about the curse. My heart beat faster. The curse? Yes, he said. She told me the island has a guardian, a spirit that lived inside the silver tree. When Marla killed the tree, the guardian's power broke. But it didn't disappear. It waited. I leaned closer. Waited for what? For someone to restore it. Someone from the bloodline it once protected. A child of the woman who first whispered to the forest. Our mother. I stared into the fire for a long time. What do we do? Leo took my hand. We go to the chief. Tonight. That night, under a sky full of stars, we made our way through the village toward the chief's home. It stood tall and wide, made of dark wood with carvings of birds and stars. 2 guards stood outside. Leo stepped forward. Tell Chief Imani that Leo, son of Lyra, is here, and he brings truth. They looked at him for a moment, then one of them disappeared into the house. Moments later, we were let inside. Chief Imani was older than I expected, with eyes like stone and a voice like thunder wrapped in silk. He sat beside his daughter Anari, who had soft eyes and braided hair that shimmered like water. I've heard whispers of your bravery, he said to Leo. But bravery is not always truth. Leo stepped forward and told our story about our mother, the silver tree, the hunger, the betrayal, the forest, the curse. He spoke with care. Anari listened without looking away. When he finished, she stood. I believe him, she said, because I've seen what the forest has become, and I know this curse is real. Chief Imani looked at us both. Do you know what it means to restore balance? No, I said. But we're ready to learn. He nodded slowly. Then you must face the trial of memory. Leo looked confused. What is that? The chief pointed to a carved door at the back of the hall. It's where the spirit hides. You must enter and let it see your past. Only then will it decide if your heart is clean. Anari touched Leo's arm. I'll wait for you. We entered the chamber. It was dark and cold. A soft wind moved through it, though there were no windows. Then a voice echoed neither male nor female, but something between. Tell me, it said, why you still carry the past. Images filled the room. Our mother's final words. Marla's cruelty. The glowing tree. The silver bark breaking under fire. Leo's tiny hands grabbing mine. The hunger. The fear. I carry the past, I whispered, because it still shapes me. But I don't want revenge. I want peace. I want the island to breathe again. There was silence. Then the voice returned. You have spoken with truth. Now give what was taken. I didn't know what it meant. Then Leo stepped forward. From his bag, he pulled out a small seed. I found this where the tree once stood, he said. It glowed for 1 second. I kept it. "Plant it," said the voice. We stepped outside with the chief, Anari, and many others following. Leo dug into the soil near the cliffs, where the wind was strongest. He placed the seed and covered it with earth. Then we waited. The ground shook. A small silver sprout pushed through the soil. It shimmered with light. People gasped. The wind grew warm. A soft mist rose from the earth, and I felt it, that same warmth from long ago, when the tree fed us. The spirit had returned. The island changed after that night. Not all at once, but slowly, like dawn after a long black sky. People came to see the silver sprout, amazed by its light. Some touched the leaves and felt warmth in their bones. The wind that once howled through the cliffs now carried music. Birds returned. Fish swam near the shore again. It was as if the earth was finally breathing. But not everyone was happy. When Marla heard about the tree, she became furious. She stormed into the village square with her 2 daughters beside her. Her voice was loud, sharp like a knife, and filled with anger. "This is a trick," she shouted. "A lie built by bastards and ghosts. My husband's children should not decide the fate of this island." People gathered. No one spoke. They watched her, but they didn't follow her. She pointed at Leo. "You think a seed makes you a hero? You're nothing. I took care of you when your mother died." "You let us starve," I said, stepping forward. My voice shook, but I didn't stop. "You tried to break us, but we found something stronger than you ever had: kindness." Marla's face twisted. She raised her hand to strike me, but before she could move, the ground beneath her feet cracked. A wind rose from the cliffs, stronger than any storm we had known. Her daughters screamed and held each other. The silver sprout glowed brighter. Chief Amani stepped forward. "You disturbed the spirit once. You tried to kill it. Now it knows your heart." Marla tried to speak, but her mouth stayed shut. Her body froze. Her feet sank into the earth, inch by inch. Her daughters cried and begged for help, but no one moved. Even Father, who stood nearby, looked away. When only her head remained above the soil, she finally spoke. "Please," she whispered. "I didn't know. I didn't understand what I was doing." Then the spirit's voice came again, soft but clear. "You were warned. You were given years. And still, you chose cruelty." The ground swallowed her whole. The crowd stood in silence. No one clapped. No one cheered. It wasn't a victory. It was a lesson. After that day, the silver sprout grew faster. Within a week, it became a young tree, shining in the moonlight. People began to leave food offerings at its base: fruit, rice, small bowls of water. The forest responded. Flowers returned. Animals wandered close without fear. Life returned, little by little. Father came to see us one afternoon. He looked thinner than I remembered, and older too. His hair had gone gray at the edges. He walked slowly, like a man carrying invisible weight. "I didn't know what she was doing," he said. "I didn't see it." "You didn't want to see it," I answered. He nodded. "You're right. I failed you." Leo stood beside me. "You still have time," he said. "If you want to try again." Father sat down in the sand, pulled off his shoes, and looked out at the sea. "Tell me what I missed," he said. "Tell me everything." So we did. We told him about the silver tree, the hunger, the forest, and the way we survived. He cried once, but we didn't stop. It was time he knew it all. After that day, he began to change. He visited the tree every morning. He stopped working for the trade boats and started helping the village build a school. I didn't forgive him immediately, but over time, I saw the man he used to be, and slowly, I let him in again. As for Leo, he and Anari became closer with every passing day. She brought him books and songs. He taught her to fish and how to spot fruit trees in the hills. They laughed often and whispered when they thought no one was listening. One morning, Chief Amani called the village together. "The island has spoken," he said. "Balance has returned. And it is time for new leaders to rise. My daughter has chosen a partner, and I approve." He looked at Leo. "Step forward." Leo did. "I give my blessing," the chief said, "and my daughter's hand in marriage." The crowd clapped and people smiled. Anari stood beside Leo, her eyes full of joy. That evening, under the new moon, they were married near the tree. The wind was soft, and the tree's leaves glowed silver. The air smelled of flowers and sea salt. I stood beside my brother, and when the music started, we danced. For the first time in years, I felt peace. Not the kind that comes and goes, but the deep kind that stays in your bones. After the wedding, I moved into a small house near the forest. I spent my days teaching children how to read and showing them where wild berries grew. Sometimes I would walk to the tree alone and sit beneath its branches. I didn't ask it for food anymore. I didn't need to. But I always said thank you. One morning, as I sat under the tree, a little girl walked up to me. She was holding a shell in her hand. "Is it true," she asked, "that this tree saved the island?" I nodded. "It gave more than food. It gave hope." She smiled and placed the shell at the tree's base. "What do you think it wants now?" she asked. I looked at the leaves moving gently in the breeze. "I think," I said, "it wants us to remember. Because the past can hurt, but it can also teach. And when we carry those lessons forward, we grow stronger than we ever thought possible." The tree stood tall above us, a reminder that even after the darkest winters, spring still comes. I hope you have enjoyed the story. Like and comment if you want to hear more soon.